Welcome, friends, to episode 319, the actual 319 episode. 'Cause I think last week I said 318, but it was actually, or I said 319, but it was actually 318. But anyway, welcome to episode 319 of Color of Magic, your Magic Gaming podcast, where we talk about all gaming issues that affect gamers at and away from their gaming tables and computers. I am your host, PowrDragn, and for 319 episodes, still got my main man, Brian Psionic, in tow. How's it going, man?
I think I'm still here, though, with everything, with all the various layoffs and drop-offs and pickups
Bruh,
and explosions and things in the gaming industry. I think I still exist.
tell me about it. It is a crazy time right now. If you were into any, like, it's weird that for the most part, the tabletop game sector is pretty stable. But man, the video game industry is all over the place right now. But yeah, lots to talk about there. We're gonna cover the WotC lawsuit because apparently that was dropped, so we get to talk about that this week. I have a good gripe about a game that's kind of popular, so we're gonna cover that. There's some new stuff for NBA 2K. We have some Ninja Turtle stuff, some cool Magic art to talk about, even some Doctor Who stuff. So we're all over the place this week. It was a weird news week, but lots to talk about. But before we get into all that, y'all know the drill. We got to tell you, if you would love to support the show, we'd appreciate it. Go over to patreon.com/color of magic, where you can even get a shout out for supporting the show, just like Rebecca Klussman. So thank you so much, Rebecca, for being a patron of the show. And if you want to make some money for yourself while you're buying magic, or just save money, or have a cool place to shop for magic, go over to our friends at Manapool. You can go to manapool.com/promos/color of magic, and you can literally go shop for every magic card you want to pick up. And just for signing up, if you use our link, they're going to give you a free $5. That's literally takes you a minute, less than a minute, really. Just go sign up like you would on any website, go do your shopping, get $5 off whatever you want. You can just find a $5 card if you want, and it's basically free. So like go over there, check out our friends. It's manapool.com/promo/color of magic. But all right, man, we talked about this WotC lawsuit that was brought up by shareholders, or a couple of shareholders, to represent the rest of the shareholders. And I felt like we were some of the only ones that kind of said, like, yeah, nothing's probably going to come of this. And everybody had tried to spin this into, oh, WotC's going to change this thing I don't like, or oh, see, I told you this was bad, or whatever. But literally every lawyer, and I brought it up on the show, the lawyers I knew that I went and had check it out, they all said either they don't really see where this is a lawsuit, or if there is, what they're trying to say is going to be hard to prove. And our assessment after that was either it's going to get settled or it's going to get dismissed. And some people said we were crazy. And guess what? We found out this week it got dismissed. And I kind of get it, right? Because the stuff they were pointing out is kind of like, it felt very, I don't know, fan centric, of just like, I don't like this thing you did, but I can't prove that it did the thing, but it probably did, right? And like, you can't get that into a court case and prove it. Now, the part about buying their stock and all that, that's legit. And we talked about that. But we also pointed out that, unfortunately, in this current modern capitalistic society of the US, every big company is using money to buy their stocks back. So I don't even know how you would, like, personal me was like, I would have liked to have seen that go forward and there'd be a thing. So companies would stop doing that if we ruled against it. But that was a long shot. Right? We know that wasn't really going to be a thing. So yeah, we're kind of back to business as usual, right?
The
What
only,
we Mhm.
like you said, the only way they are probably gonna get anywhere with this suit is if something came out that showed some kind of proof that Wizards was losing money, and of course the numbers. This, I guess, happened shortly after we got the Court of Financials. Like, oh, they're still rolling around in money at Hasbro/Wizards. So,
Yeah, like
so much for that plan.
particularly all the Wizards of the Coast brands were doing well. So you can't even say like, oh well, this was because of this thing or that thing. Like, no, the things you're complaining about didn't put up the financial results you're saying they should have, right? So I think that would have also been hard for them to push through in court, right? Because Wizards could literally go, Well, then what do these numbers mean? And just hold up the, the paperwork in the room. So again, like it sucks because I don't want to be like defending the corporation or whatever, but I mean, it's sadly business as usual. Even if we don't like the business being done the way it's done, right? It just is what it is. Now, I do think because from everything I read says it could be resubmitted at a later date. I think there's certain things they have to basically boxes they have to check to, I guess, get closer to a real suit on certain things. But we also talked about how it's very likely because 2025 was such an insane sales year for Magic because you had your number one and number three best selling sets of all time in the same year, that 2026 might not eclipse that. So people might look at when we get to December or we see the Q4 financials and people go, ah, Magic's down, I don't know, let's say 10 or 15%. And people are like, this is it. This is the bubble bursting. All those decisions are, it's like, no, like you had an insane year in 2025. Like you had two top five, not even two top five, two top three products released in 2025. You it Now we did talk about this off the air, right? 2026, if you look at the calendar, there's no dead set, right? And there's no, I won't even say dead weight because that's not really fair. There's nothing weighing the year down though, right? There's
There's
no
no Assassin's Creed, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. No Assassin's Creed, no Ether Drift, no Karlov Manor, right? You look across the board, hell, no Spider-Man, right? They all look like they can sell. So as a total combined effort with no drop off anywhere in the middle, no significant drop off, you could, I guess, still meet 2026. Granted, the combined effort has to make up a huge gap on Final Fantasy. Probably combined. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some like $100 million gap in there somewhere that's got to be solved. But realistically, it's possible, right? So the
Yeah, I
numbers
mean, if
might,
everything hits, and like we said, there's nothing on the calendar looks like, oh, that could be last year. You could easily look at Aether Drift and be like,
yeah,
not that hype. Like you said, Karloff Manor, not really hype. It seemed pretty obvious.
yeah. This year we're coming off Lorwyn that's already popular, Ninja Turtles, which is already doing very well from everything I'm hearing. Like, then we're gonna roll into Strixhaven that people seem already excited about. Then we get what is it, The Hobbit, which is probably gonna do well. Then you get Marvel Superheroes, which is probably gonna do well.
Yeah, you figure there's no way that doesn't do insane amounts of money. Probably at least a couple more stones. If we get Thanos, and let's say how many stones are
Oh
there now?
yeah,
Is there one stone?
there's only one. Yeah,
So yeah, if we get Thanos and the other five stone, are they doing? How many Marvel sets is it? Is it just
three over the next 3 years, I believe.
okay? So probably I guess over the course of those, we'll get the stones, and then probably Thanos is the last.
Yeah,
Thanos and the Gauntlet probably is the last set, I would imagine.
yeah, you can make a whole set out of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Right.
All the different characters and players in that story. But then you also have Reality Fracture, which is going to be a crazy set with people I think are going to be into. And then you
We
have
still have no idea what that is, do we? Really?
uh technically your boy knows, but
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I can say. I don't think I
Okay.
can say.
I'm just
Now,
impressed nothing gets leaked so far because we've been on a run. Man, I probably jinxed it.
bruh, let me tell you, like the only reason I know is when I was doing commander format panel stuff. We literally, and I don't know if I talked about this on the show. Everything we talked about was in a very private room. Like it even had like blacked out or curtains or something over the windows to the office, so nobody could see in or out. We weren't. It's like when you go to those comedy shows, you can't have your cell phone.
Yep.
We did that thing. Like you couldn't have your phones out. Even when we were out mingling with other employees during lunch. If between us we wanted to talk about something, we walked back into the room and had the
God,
conversation.
with the phones, I want to get big enough as a performer where people want to tape my show, but then at the same token, I don't. I'm not looking forward to. Oh, great! Somebody taped. I got to come up with a because it takes forever to get even
Yeah,
1 hour of material. You can't do
yeah.
that just every day. You know?
That's what I think makes, sidetrack here, but I think that's what makes Josh Johnson so good. Is that dude puts out basically a 1 hour special every week on YouTube.
Great.
And it's always funny. Like the dude's infinite material. It's insane. But yeah, so I know what the set is as far as name, concept, and if I'm remembering right, I've seen a few pieces of art. but I don't know anything else about it. So I haven't seen any cards or anything like that, any mechanics.
You know,
So I can't, but I still can't talk about it till at
right?
least,
I mean, this is me pretending I didn't even hear that.
yeah, till they at least show what they have. But from everything I know, for people that want in universe stuff, it sounds really cool, and I think people are gonna like it. And then of course we finished the year with Star Trek and whatever. It's Star Trek, right? It's gonna sell some amount of cards. We already
Exactly.
know that.
Because as we talked about before the show, there is no active Star Trek game right now in the CCG space, and I'm aware of it. Correct me if I'm wrong in it, but I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
think
think so.
there's.
If there is, it's not a big player of any kind. It's nothing that I
I mean, I
know
think
of.
whatever the last one Decipher did, I think there's still groups out there playing it, but I don't think there's
Yeah.
anything active with cards right now. There's a bunch of board games dropping on a somewhat regular basis.
Yeah, I was double checking to see if there's something I'm missing, but yeah, I don't think there is one right now. At least not one that anybody cares about if there is one. So yeah, I think that's just the overall recipe for a good year. So I think it'll still be good. But I just caution people because I think it's going to be very easy to look at that and go, "Oh, it's a down year," but even though it's still going to be a damn good year. So just want to put that there. But we'll talk about how that came up with Ninja Turtles as well a little bit later. But let's go ahead and hop into the soapbox here because, man, I do have one thing I want to gripe about. And that's a game that I thought was going to be kind of a fun and cozy little adventure game called Peak, Peak. And it gotten some fun hype. I'd seen some little promos that popped up on Steam. And it's got this like fun kind of like, I won't say cell shaded, but kind of like soft animation or animation style. It's got like these, like the cute little round headed characters. And, you're traversing these bridges and climbing these ropes. And the goal is to get up these mountains, right? And the concept sounds cool. Every day, I think every 24 hours, it generates a new mountain. So you can go in and do the challenge and whatever. And with Magic Mics, we played me, Ruben, and Evan. And man, let me tell you, this game, it was not cozy. It was not. I would dare say it wasn't fun for me. And now let me say this: I'm not saying the game is bad. Any of these gripes I have coming, I'm not saying it's bad because I'll also wrap up telling you I do think it's built for a certain style of player. Right. My biggest gripe though is that the imagery, the motif, the visuals don't fit the style of game that it is. I could see a lot of people going in having the same opinion or experience that we had, more than opinion, more the experience, because we thought it was gonna be something different. So the first thing, it drops you instantly into this like we'll call it a crash landing site, right? Like a broken airplane, and there's some different items you can pick up. As far as we could tell, there was a bunch of items that did minimal to nothing to help you get up this mountain, right? There was like a compass, there was like a compass and binoculars. Like, okay, those are adventure things. Then there's randomly like a bugle and a balloon and like just weird stuff. And then some of the items we found out later were one-time use, which we didn't know because some items you can use over and over. I'm like, man, could y'all at least give those like an indicator? Like green ones are multi-use and red ones are one-time or something? Because the feeling of you're like, oh, we're gonna use this rope here so we can just save ourselves some time. And then you're just like, oh, we can't reuse it. It's like, well, crap, we would have saved the rope, and now the hard part's gonna take even longer now. And it's like, damn it. There was a spot where I ate some mushrooms because we're just eating stuff along the path, and then we find out apparently different apples you can eat or can't eat, or you can eat them, but then they hurt you somehow. And then there's some mushrooms you can eat that seem fine, but apparently 30 seconds later you're poisoned and you got to deal with that. And it's just like, and we even went to their tenderfoot mode, which is I guess supposed to be easy. I will say it's less difficult, but I ain't gonna say it's easy. Like, there's also no maps because I was thinking, okay, there must be a command or a button or an option that I can turn the map on so we can kind of get an idea of where we are on the mountain, what we need to be doing. Like, nope, you're just randomly trying to figure it out till you get to a spot where it's like the fog is rising. You're like, well, I guess we can't go to this side. Time to go the other way. Like, oh, there's a thing. Oh my god, the thing that really upset me, it has drift on your characters sometimes. So, and it's not a controller thing or whatever, because it was happening to the guys even playing on keyboards. But
Oh
like, if
wow.
you're just standing there, not even on a slope, you're just standing on a flat part. I even made sure my character was kneeling because I'm like, how did I start? How did I even get close to the edge? Like weird, because I was looking over, we're trying to go through inventory and help one of the other players. And I'm like, how did I just slide down the side of the mountain? Like, what the hell? Like, so now I have to pay attention to my character possibly drifting as well. I'm like, oh, this game. But that being said, between my recent experience with Slay the Spire, which everybody loves that game, it's a card based roguelike, and Peak, I realize I'm not a roguelike person. I will play these. Now, there's a new Slay the Spire coming that you can play with up to 4 people, which is kind of cool. I think that comes out at the end of the month, but, or maybe beginning of next month. But I think I just value my time too much that for me playing through, because I don't even go back and play a lot of like retro games or whatever. Like once I've beat them, I'm kind of done with them. But me replaying levels I just played and I spent 2 or 3 hours on, I'm just not into it, man. It's not for me. And then when you have a game, for me, a game like Peak sort of feels like Elden Ring, where there's just like some features that are difficulty for the sake of being difficulty. Like in Peak, literally, it randomizes the items you get too, by the way, that you find everywhere. So when you redo it, you might get a balloon where before you had like a repelling rope,
Yeah,
which
that's
one of
pretty
those
much
is,
that's roguelike 101.
yeah, and one of those is way useful and the other does basically nothing. Right? And it's just like, oh my gosh, what's even the deal here? So yeah, I get why people would enjoy it. Even when we're playing it, like I was even saying, I see who this is built for. But man, don't go into it thinking it's a cozy little adventure game because it is not that. And fortunately, I posted about it on Blue Sky, and a couple people even said, like, oh, I'm glad you said something. I was going to play it. I thought it was this. And I'm like, me too. Like, that's why I'm making the post. I thought the same thing. But for what it is actually an interesting game. Like the idea that it generates a new mountain every day. So it has a lot of replayability and all that. Like, that all makes sense to me. And I feel like had I understood what it was, my opinion probably wouldn't have been as harsh, but probably won't be playing a lot more of it. Fortunately, it's on sale, or I don't know if it still is. It was last week when we got it on Steam. So it was like $8. I'm not upset for an $8 experience. You know what I mean? If I'd got it for $30, I might have been upset. But at $8, not. It's cool. Go give them their $8 or whatever it normally goes for if you enjoy that type of game. You'll really dig it if you're into roguelikes, I think. But all right, that's that ran over. Let's talk about some other more fun stuff though. Because it's time to talk about what we learned. Because man, there's a couple of things that I think people are gonna have fun with. And we're gonna stick with Steam games here because while looking around, I came across this game's gonna sound like a fever dream, but it's called Berry, 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 Bury, Berry, Berry. Now, this game doesn't cost very much. It's also only $8 on Steam if you want to go download it and play it. But at first, it was like it has such a weird visual. It's very oddly chaotic. It looks like a lower level constructed, like when you see those Minecraft levels that are just brightly colored and have about a lot of weird stuff going on, but not in the blocky style. And what also got my attention was when I found out this game has sold 20,000 copies in the last month. So I was like, okay, let me see what this game's all about. Is it really as weird as it looks? My understanding, as far as I could tell, without playing it, watching the video, reading through a couple of short reviews, is that your goal is to harvest berries, right? You're growing berries.
Sounds
And
normal so far.
then you earn money, and this is the part that's weird, so stick with me. You get these berries that you have raised or harvested, I should say, and you go throw them in a hole. There's just a hole that exists for you to throw berries into.
So you're burying the berries. Okay,
Yeah.
it's
Oh no, by
weird,
the
but I
way,
guess I get it.
we're not even burying because the hole just stays open. you're just you're just perpetually throwing berries in this hole.
some gaping maw into the
Exactly. It's like a sinkhole that you're just throwing
yeah.
berries into. And at some point, you get side character slash assistants. I'm not totally sure on that part because some of the berries you grow are actual sentient characters.
Games be weird sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know, man. But for $8, I almost took a shot on it. If I'd had time today, if I'd not been doing all the other magic stuff with Ninja Turtles or whatever, I would, just for research purposes, if nothing else, because it's just weird.
Right, yeah, at $8, you feel it sounds like it's both designed interestingly and priced well also.
Yeah, because like if it's a just a time waster, that's cool for $8. If I'm just seeing how many berries I can grow in an hour and chunk them into this
Yeah.
this sinkhole or
$8
whatever.
is in that, "Hey, why the hell not?" range.
Yeah, and it's working for them, right? I mean, what's
That's DLC for an average game, $8.
yeah, because even if you're giving up, let's say 25% or whatever, so you're making $6 a game, you know, and you've sold 20,000 copies, that's 120K. That's real money for a game that seems kind of goofy, but you know what? Don't let your memes be dreams, man. If if you got an idea and you think you can turn it into a fun, like goofy little time waster, even if people just buy it and play it for 2 days and they're done for $8, yeah, count me in, man. Why not? It's crazy. It's weird. I don't get it, but again, at some point, I might try it for $8.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know, man.
Sure,
What do you
boy,
got here? Because this is just a weird project fever dream of a game that I need to get out of my head.
Yeah, NBA 2K is actually kind of sort of on the. I guess we're getting one of each. We did get a ridiculous $5,000 for a single card that's just par for the course at NBA. It's not going anywhere. But we also got another really good free card in Cameron Boozer, and it's also a college player because, as I mentioned on an earlier cast, 2K has the right to do college sports now. This guy kind of getting our, kind of getting us excited for them having college players in the game before they release their actual college basketball game at some point. Yeah, again, fun card, free card. It's a free card you can upgrade from a diamond card to a galaxy opal. So that one is a total win. I guess, as I said, maybe for now we get a little bit of each. We get your crazy $5,000 card that only the whales are going to have, but then at the same time we get, hey, here's this free thing for people that aren't going to drop an insane amount of money, and both cards are playable. I'm taking their word for it on Yao Ming because I'll never get the $5,000 card.
Yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing because you've pointed this out over the last month or so. They've been putting in some actual playable stuff for virtually free or cheap, for people to get their hands on, which is a little bit of a departure from what they were doing before. And I think this may have to come back to, like you pointed out, the story toward the end of last year was, maybe all the community griping and coming together. They were like, hey, we have these other things in the pipeline. Why don't we just make them easier to acquire? And it seems to be working.
Yeah. And again, they're still getting their money because a bunch of people are going to spend on Yao Ming because Yao Ming is, just a legendary NBA card for being almost 8 feet tall.
Sure, sure. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, so
Right.
why not?
We get it. He also somebody, that is famous all over the world. So we understand, I mean, I can't say I understand a card that could potentially cost $5,000, but as long as you keep giving me free stuff, I guess it's in some form everybody wins because the whales are going to whale. They're going to
Oh
spend
yeah,
their
yeah.
money.
We've got a good whale story at the end of the show as well, related to magic art. Like people spend, it just is what it is. But all right, let's hop into some topics. We got a lot we get to run through this week. The big one, if you're a Magic player, is Ninja Turtles. We'll say pseudo dropped because we got our early access event on Wednesday. And honestly, the two takeaways were one, man, there's a lot of good cards in this set. And two, oh man, this is nothing like Spider Man. And the one thing I've been saying for weeks is you can't really compare other universes beyond products to Spider-Man because as we've seen, everything before and so far the two sets after, all got their normal development, right? From day one to day whatever at launch day, they were what they were intended to be. Spider-Man, and according, we have this on the record from Wizards. From the beginning, it had to change so many times, and they had to make new cards, and the structure of the set had to change, and they had to add cards because they weren't going to do the short packs anymore. And then you had to rush some pre-release stuff because it was going to be standard legal and it wasn't intended to, and just list and list and list of things. So yeah, when you look at Ninja Turtles, you can see in the flavor of the set, all the popular characters are there. All the flavor is there, all the callbacks that you want. Like, it's the only thing is there was one thing missing that somebody pointed out to me, and I meant to look it up because I didn't see it either. There was no Usagi Yojimbo character. And I think, if I remember right, Usagi Yojimbo was not an original Ninja Turtles character. I think it was some other comic that Eastman and Laird did like a crossover thing with. So I'm gonna look that up right now because I was kind of curious why it wasn't included in the set. But yeah, let's see which company owns that? Which company owns Usagi Yojimbo? Because I don't know this answer. Current publisher is Dark Horse, actually, who owns it, which would make sense because Turtles is not Nintendo, Nickelodeon slash Paramount, I believe, is the parent company. So if you had that license, you're not going to get the license to Usagi Yojimbo, so it makes sense he's not in the game. But everybody else was there and had a good time, honestly. There were some cards that I think surprised people. Even for me, I think there's some that, as I start thinking about doing my, overperformers, underperformer videos, there were several that I'm like making notes while we're playing or that I'm seeing other people playing. And I'm like, oh, okay, hold on. So yeah, early access, I think this time really did its job of exposing a lot of people to cards, to concepts, to strategies with this set that they may not have seen otherwise. And it seemed overall like people were happy. So good on them. Go
Now I'm
Ninja
trying to
Turtles.
remember the last time I saw Usagi Yojimbo in a Turtles cartoon, and I feel like it's been a minute.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but that's probably why, right? They probably had a short term agreement. And then when the later series came out, probably never went back to the drawing board, or maybe couldn't get the license to work out for one reason or another. But yeah, here's one that it's probably going to interest a lot of people, a lot of old heads like us. If you've been around in the console wars, we don't know what the hell's about to happen with Xbox. They basically had a wholesale clearing of the upper echelon of the company. It sounds like, they replaced the CEO. The second in command walked out. This is a crazy story, and it's been everywhere over the last about week, basically. What's your takeaway on all this, Brian? Because this whole situation sounds crazy.
Well, yeah, it was already kind of a huge shock to have Phil Spencer step down. We're like, well, okay, they've obviously been prepping Sarah Bond for this seat. She was a huge help with the Activision Blizzard merger. So, okay, it's Sarah's time. No, Sarah's quitting. Okay. Whoa, what the F is happening over there? And then, of course, in this time when we are all concerned about the rise of AI, the person that takes over the Xbox brand is Asha Sharma, who, she apparently, her background is generative AI. So it's like, oh, this is in so many ways. Again, never met her, didn't know anything about her before this past week, but of course, she steps in where all you got to say is the word AI and people are out for blood. And right now,
Yeah,
she's obviously saying all the right things. Look, we don't mean for the console to go away. We are. Matter of fact, somebody said, "Hey, the problem is you don't have any exclusive games for Xbox." She said, I hear you. That's obviously not any kind of ironclad promise. That's just, hey, we understand what you're talking about. And
yeah,
one of the engineers that helped create the original Xbox, Seamus Blackley, basically said that in his opinion, it's not a coincidence that somebody whose background is AI has been tasked with taking over the Xbox brand. He termed her basically a palliative care doctor who is going to essentially put the Xbox brand out of its misery. So it's like, good lord, that's just
I mean, but here's the thing, right? I think she was like a meta exec or something that oversaw AI or some such for them. So, I mean, I get why the concerns are there, right? And this might be the first step to Microsoft going the way of Sega,
Yeah,
where they said, you know what? We're just wasting a lot of money building this hardware. We're never going to be number one, but we know we're really good at making software,
yeah. Because
right?
again, now that they've done the Activision, act, well, I just made a new word, but yeah, you know what I mean. Activision slash Blizzard, that gives them World of Warcraft. That's a huge, I don't know the exact number, but a huge number, millions of players that aren't going anywhere for the most part.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Honestly, Call of Duty. That brand is gonna. They put out a game that this year was so low, was low reviewed. They essentially issued an apology for it. They were still the best selling game of the month and one of the best selling games of the entire year. They can't screw anything up, even when they screw everything up. So there's a lot of money for them to be made in software, and according to them, they have never turned a profit on the console, which sounds insane. But we were thinking about it, in the pre-show. Well, when did they ever win? I don't think they've ever beaten PlayStation at anything really. They
But
certainly,
also, until we talked about it, I hadn't really thought about it, but I think we both agreed that it could have been all of those busted Xbox 360s that probably did them in.
that absolutely. There's no way the Red Ring of Death helped in any stretch of the imagination. Because like, really, once Halo dropped, Xbox had something where okay, this is something we can build on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This speaks to that 18 to 30 slash now probably more like 45-year-old man. The LAN parties, man, they were
Dude,
legend.
I told people I believe that Halo is one of the best timed games of all
Yep.
time because I remember it being around the time a lot of markets were starting to get high speed internet of different varieties. And then it was like, wait, I could play with my friends on my console without having to be in the same room? Like, hold up. Right. And then that was the game, right? Everybody was playing Halo. And I was like, man, if that game's 9 months later or 9 months sooner, it may not have had the same impact that it had. But man, it took over everything. And they
And
rode
then,
Halo for hell,
yeah.
5, 6, 7 years.
Then a few years later, we get Gears of War. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, do you like Halo? But even more, dude, bro, we got you. So we said,
Yeah.
hey, what if the Halo weapon had a chainsaw on it? All right.
That's basically what it was.
Yeah, let him cook.
Yeah,
Let him cook,
exactly.
y'all.
And it worked, to their
Right?
credit. But we're just not in that space anymore, right?
No.
It's hard to even have exclusives anymore. We talked about that before. Now games are coming out on every platform because people want to play with their friends and they shouldn't
Yeah.
have to care what console they're on, right?
Other than Nintendo, that's pretty much what everybody's doing. And Nintendo is its own thing, always
Yeah.
has been, and they do it better than anybody.
And, why do I want an Xbox when I can basically play all the same stuff on my PC and it's cheaper? Like, why are people going to want to do that? So I
We're
get it.
all wondering, like, when, because they were talking about how with cloud gaming, you probably, and like you mentioned, PC, you probably won't need a console. And who probably is the first person that makes the most sense to not have a console anymore? The people in butt naked last.
Yeah. But
Why
again,
would they continue losing money on this?
also the company that does the most software,
Yeah.
just worldwide of the major companies. So it makes sense if that's the way they go. I
Because they
think
have created the biggest software company in the world. They ain't
yeah,
going anywhere.
the crazier thing to me, and we kind of which is interesting because we kind of had different interpretations of this, is of their number two, who we thought was going to take over, just walking out. And my interpretation from the stuff I read was that she either some combination of didn't agree with the other person's release and or saw the writing on the wall of like, nah, you're not pinning this on me. I see this ship is sinking, with these decisions. But you pointed out that maybe she had been passed over with her credentials and that was enough for her to walk out.
Yeah, because when we first heard, okay, well, Phil's going to step down. Oh, okay, now it's Sarah's time. Nope, that's not what's happening. And you would figure, yeah, if she had pretty much, we were thinking she was being groomed to
Yeah.
replace Phil, and that is obviously not what. Well, we don't know necessarily why what happened. All we know is it ain't Sarah. It's somebody that before last week none of us had ever heard of, and they, with all due respect to her and her present resume, no real gaming credentials to speak of. Not that you necessarily have to, but it's kind of unusual to go
It
from
helps. Yeah.
completely out of the industry to in charge of, while they are, have had problems, still one of the longest running gaming brands and still the biggest software company in the industry.
I will say this though. I think we can agree that we saw the downfall back around the holiday shopping season, right? When I brought up on the show where I was stunned that they weren't even in third place anymore. They were a distant fourth place to a console hardly anybody's even heard of. So like at some point we have to have the serious talk of like, hey, if you're not revamping the entire brand, we need to talk about y'all just getting out of hardware because this ain't for y'all anymore. As
At this
crazy as that
point,
is.
how do you revamp the brand? Because PlayStation didn't go anywhere. If you once you decide, okay, we're putting Indiana Jones and Gears of War and pretty much all of our, at some point Halo, all of our iconic brands on PlayStation. Well, why do you need to buy an Xbox?
Yeah, that's a fair
That's what.
question. Fair question. But hey, let's talk about something that was interestingly positive. And Baldur's Gate might be getting a TV show. So it sounds like their Wizards is working with HBO, which is kind of cool because now there's a third studio that they're working with to do kind of mass market stuff. We can add HBO to the list of legendary studios and Netflix, but also has, I guess, the people that worked on The Last of Us, which we all know how good that was, to do Baldur's Gate for HBO. So, how excited are you about this one?
I mean, I actually have not ever gotten around to playing Baldur's Gate 3. I know.
You're
So,
you're, you're one of like three people I know that haven't made
right.
it.
But I mean, just where we've come from in the gaming space, where it used to be like, okay, if you're doing, you would hear, hey, they're doing a movie or a TV show based on such and such game. Like, oh my God, no, no, it's horrible. No, we don't want that. We don't need that. And it's not that way anymore. Yeah, okay, I still would maintain the Minecraft movie was a hate crime, but it still made a bunch of money, and they're going to
God,
make probably two more of them.
it made a dumb amount of money, honestly, for
Yeah.
what it was.
And again, me and Dragon are not the audience for that. The audience for Minecraft is the audience that's gonna think Jack Black singing "Lava Chicken" is the greatest thing ever. That's who the
Fair.
Minecraft movie is for.
You're
That was
not wrong.
never meant for me.
Yeah, the interesting thing to me is I'm hoping because as far as I could tell, The Last of Us was a very good interpretation
Yeah,
from the video game.
pretty
So,
much everybody that I've talked to that has seen that has loved. Even people that have never played. That's what you want. You want an adaptation that can stand on its own, and people that have never played the game, don't play video games, can still enjoy that thing. And that's The Last of Us did. So I'm hopeful Baldur's Gate goes on the same path
oh
because
yeah,
obviously the story is there.
and you'll even see sales go the other way once people go, "Oh, this is based on a video game." Like, let me go check it out. And in this case, it's interesting because if they're willing to give it the same treatment, right? We keep the same flavor for all the characters, the kind of same overall story and feel. Some of this moving to live action could be really interesting, right? Because stuff like all the characters, I was going to pick one out, but like they're all pretty flavorful except for maybe one or two of them that are kind of like the generic D&D tropes. But yeah, we could see a world where these become actual brandable long-term characters for Wizards if this works.
And
And then
obviously
there's
HBO is thinking, hey, we might have another Game of Thrones here.
yeah, and it's also of like where do you start the story, right? Are we going to pick up at the end of Baldur's Gate where we're kind of resolving some stories, or are we going to retell parts of the Baldur's Gate 3 game and go from there? Or are we going to go farther back since Baldur's Gate is a what 26-year-old license or something? Feels like it's been around forever, right? And then try to bring it up to speed to the characters people know. Now, I would think you start with the most popular one in Baldur's Gate 3 and all those characters that people know, but I don't know. It'd be very
If you
interesting to
use the
see.
Game of Thrones model, which not saying they will, but it would probably work. You start with three as the most popular one now, and then you can kind of prequel, sequel, wherever on the timeline you feel like you need to go. Because What Game of Thrones show are we on now? Three,
Oh
four?
yeah.
I've lost count, and with more in the pipeline.
Here's the thing too though about Baldur's Gate 3 is because it's such a long story arc and every character plays a part in the story to some because it's a D&D thing, right?
Yep.
Each character kind of gets their moment for part of the story arc or whatever. You could literally structure the season around that, right? Like this season is mostly these two characters and everybody's helping them kind of fulfill their destiny, so to speak, or whatever. And then maybe one of them has a little bit of carryover to the next season. And we also like start pushing more of the other two characters that we saw their kind of elements get introduced in the first season or whatever. And you could do that forever. So could be really exciting. I think for me, the other thing it showed us was it kind of solidified that Wizards has all the rights to Baldur's Gate because there's no mention of Larian being involved in this
Yeah,
process at all.
Larian has confirmed they have no direct involvement in this.
Yeah, so if that's the case, that does open the door for Wizards, Hasbro to do a lot of other Baldur's Gate things if they want with no concerns. So just something to leave out there that if we see some other Baldur's Gate branded stuff pop up, don't be surprised. But yeah, also wanted to point out there was a very strange bit that happened over the last couple of days, actually, where a card from the Doctor Who set ended up jumping up an insane amount and went from being, well, under 50 cents on a lot of sites, 30 to 35 cents, to being basically a $8 to $10 card. You know, and the weird part about this is we both looked and could not find any reason why this is a thing. It doesn't appear, as far as I can tell, and somebody can correct us, but as far as I can tell, I couldn't find any of the major uh, commander shows where this popped up anywhere. I couldn't find an article where somebody mentioned it, other than articles talking about, hey, did you see this crazy price bump?
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't see anything in the Hooniverse that explains what. Because I know my first reaction was like, "Oh, Sergeant John Benton got a card. We going back to the unit era with the Doctor? Okay, that is cool. So
Yeah, and that
maybe
could be a thing too, right? That community might just be like, "Oh, I didn't even know they had a card or cards from the set." Because we have seen over the last year several cards in this set jump up from, being under a dollar to being 5, 7, $10. And I think this is something we're going to probably continue to see a bit with Universes Beyond because right now we don't know when these cards will be reprinted, right? We know.
there is a Doctor Who card game, but it's like an NFT
Oh
based
yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah.
and probably after interacting with it for 5 or 10 minutes, you'll just be like, "Hey, I'll just go buy the magic cards instead." That seems like a better use of time and money.
But I think there's going to be a universes within set at some point, right? Well, they will be able to say, all right, we're going to take kind of like a master set where they take the, 50 most popular rares and mythics or whatever, put them into a set and, we print that. I feel like something like that's going to happen with Universes Beyond. Because you think about it, like we have Doctor Who stuff, Fallout. Well, now you can add like Final Fantasy Avatar to the list, right? Lord of the Rings, uh technically even Street Fighter, whatever, some of these secret layers we're not going to see those reprinted to this point. So we eventually there will need to be some universes within variants. But until then, we're going to keep seeing spikes on these cards. But the only time I've seen spikes like this when there's no other explanation that we can find, and there might be one, like I said, we could have overlooked it, is when somebody's out there trying to do a buy up, right? They go, this card's probably too cheap. We think this card goes into a bunch of group HUD type commander decks. I'm just going to go take a couple $100. I'm going to buy as many as I can get. Right. And then all the sites, especially since some of them are automated, like they'll see some buyouts and people go, wait, this card's moving a lot. We just saw like 20 units sell in the last hour. We saw 50 units sell in the last 2 hours. Okay, we need to move ours up to $1. Oh, they sold out $1. We need to move them up to $4. Oh, they sold out at $4. Right. And the idea when you've seen this in the past, and it tends to be more rare cards that usually older because there's fewer units available on a lot of different websites where you buy enough of them, you can affect the price going up, and then maybe in theory, make a little extra money selling them back to websites and stuff, whatever, at the inflated prices. Don't not saying that's what happened here. Just in general, we don't know, right? It's just a weird anomalous thing to see a card go from 30 cents to $10 in hell 48 hours.
Right?
Like it just almost instantly. So it's just kind of weird. Just something to keep your eye on. if you have any Sergeant John Bentons in your collection that you want to make a little bit on, it might show up on some buy list here soon if you want to dump some of them. And then we did say we had some big whale baller energy to talk about. And man, Magic money is out there, man. Artwork in Magic still sells for a stupid amount of money. And one of the guys that writes for Hipsters of the Coast, and I'd seen this before. He'd done a uh artist proof market a year previous. I didn't know this was a I guess series, but this is the third one that he's done. And he held an exhibit in a place called Nucleus in Los Angeles, California. And the cool part is he reached out to a bunch of different art. I think he said 100 different artists, and they all sent back proofs to be sold or auctioned or whatever, which was very, very cool. Now, I don't know what his deal is as far as what he paid any of the artists or what percentage goes where or whatever. So I'm not even going to try to get into that because that's not really explained anywhere. But he had in total, I think it said 333 pieces of art done that he had on display at this exhibit. And they set up in this gallery, sold tickets for it. I think it had like a 3-hour window for everything. And from the pictures, I mean, people came and it looks like an art gallery. It has all the stuff along the wall. People showed up and mingled. But not just that, they sold a lot. And the way it reads is that some of the money, I guess, goes to also help this art studio to help them stay open, which is great. But of the 333 pieces, he sold 236 of them. That's 70% that got sold for a total of $101,652. That Yeah, that means each of these sold for over $428 a piece average. Now, admittedly, some probably sold for like 100, some probably sold for like 800, but the average being $428 a piece on these 230 pieces is wild. Because for people that don't know, an artist proof looks like a normal Magic front. I might even have one. I don't know for people to see on camera. I don't think I have it here actually in front of me. But an artist proof is basically a Magic front with a blank Magic back. So it's just white. And when you do artwork for Wizards, for at least all the in universe sets, I don't know how it works for Universes Beyond, they make some number of them, several hundred or whatever, and they send them out to the artist. So you have those to do giveaways, to do auctions, fun stuff to doodle on, and if you want to reward somebody at a convention, whatever. So it's pretty cool that this is a thing they're doing. And this community for artist proofs is actually very big. There's some people that are trying to collect as many artist proofs as they can get or whatever, which is kind of an interesting thing. But this brought up another thing that came across my radar about a month or so ago, maybe 2 months ago now. But Magic art has been selling like crazy. And one of the interesting that popped up is there's a piece that was for sale on 3-for-1 trading. It's original Christopher Rush artwork from beta or alpha, however you want to describe it, early Magic set of just a forest. Now, people had asked me how much I thought that was going to sell for. And my first instinct was, Magic artwork's been going for crazy, so I wouldn't be surprised if it hits like 100 to 150K. Like, it sounds like a lot, but it's Christopher Rush. Christopher Rush passed, I believe, in like 2016. So it's not like you're getting any new artwork, and it's very classic.
And
If you
that is
go,
a traditional thing that happens in our community when an artist passes. All of a sudden, their stuff, because as you said, people all of a sudden, it happens so many times where somebody gets appreciated more after they're gone.
oh
We
yeah,
shouldn't do it. I try to bang the drum for people not to do that, but it happens.
well you'll see it in comic books too,
Right.
right? It happens there. But even on 3-for-1 trading, they have a statement that says straight up, offers start at 6 figures. And we unfortunately cannot accept anything below 100,000 euros. That's the starting price. Like you can't even you have to fill out a form to even get into the list to be a bidder. And I guess you'd probably have to prove you even have 100K to bring to the table. I guess technically it's 100,000 euros. So that's like 128K or something. I don't know the
It's
conversion
not
math
fair
there.
to do any math this evening, as we often say in murder mystery.
Yeah, but it's well over $100,000 to even get into the conversation. Like that's where we are, man. I've said it many times to people because I get asked a lot. Like, if you could go back and buy any Magic card, which ones would you buy? To tell your present current self. Like honestly, I would have been back there buying artwork because there's so much artwork that I know I could have got for, well, sometimes there were deals because some artists just needed money, but a lot of them you could have got for a couple $100 a piece. And we see all these classic pieces selling. I don't remember the last time I saw one for sell for less than 5 digits. So I mean, you could easily have, if you were willing to wait 20 years or whatever, 25, you could have turned 200, $300 into 30K easy. You know, like it's a crazy time in Magic right now. So as far as people talking about bubble bursting and there's no money and everybody's tapped out, like nerds got money, man. I don't know what to tell you, but these are current stories of things happening, and people are people are just out here balling. You know, like I ain't gonna tell people how to spend their money. I think it's crazy. We were talking about it. Like I don't know, even if I had, let's say, a spare million to play with, I can't even think of a piece I want that I would pay six figures for. Maybe five figures if it had some real significance personally, or maybe some families, and not even just magic art. I'm just talking artwork in general. I've seen it like museums and whatever. Like that seems crazy. That's there's some parts of the country that's still like half a house. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's a lot, man.
But I
But
mean, if you look at it as an investment, and certainly in the case of an artist that's no longer with us, it absolutely is an investment because it's probably only going to go up.
yeah, for sure. I'm not faulting anybody. I think there is a part of me because we talked about, Klug Alters selling his card for what it was like 16K or whatever that was, right? It's cool to see appreciation for these artists and the art, and that at least somebody still cares about it. That does have the money, that wants to keep it, preserve it, display it, whatever. Like it's cool that that's a thing. Because when we started playing these games, whether you're talking about Magic, D&D, Warhammer, whatever, like we didn't have any idea that these games were still going to be around in 30 years.
Right? There's no way. No way you could know that.
Yeah, and the number of pieces of art, stories that were written, transcripts, whatever, that have been lost to time. Because in those early years, that people got paid and then just went, all right, cool, and that was it. Because nobody thought this was going to be something that the community wanted to see the originals of or something down the road. So when they turn up, it's really cool to even know they still exist. It's almost like a nerd historic relic, of sorts. So it's kind of cool that we even have it. But yeah, be curious to see what the stuff ends up selling at. But yeah, congratulations. I mean, getting a whole art gallery together to do something like that, getting that many artists to participate, and having that many people that were genuinely interested. Like it's just a cool community story that I think was worth sharing. But I think that's going to do it for us this week, Brian. When you're not here doing the show, where can they find you?
I am still Brian Sonic on Twitter. You can also see me over at Uniquely Tish.
I have to say, if you haven't followed me on YouTube yet, you should. It's PowrDragn because my goodness, I have like, I don't know, 15 pieces of content over the next week with crafting guides, single card strategies, all the stuff from the early access weekend, overrated, underrated cards. There's going to be a lot to get. So come on by, say hello. But otherwise, wherever you're watching or listening, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Please remember to take care of yourself and your family. Remember to be awesome. But most importantly, with the state of the world as it is, be awesome to each other.